How to hedge against inflation. By the end of this video episode, you will understand that buying gold or silver just keeps pace with inflation. It does not outpace inflation. It hedges against inflation. And a lot of people just say, I just want to keep up with it. Well, that's hedging. But if you really want to outpace it, I'm going to share some insights on how you can do this. To outpace inflation, you've got to link your returns to the things that inflate and actually be able to earn rates of return greater than the inflation rate at any given time. I've always been able to do that for the last 48 years, and I'll give you some insights into how I've been able to do it and how you can too. So, my name's Doug Andrew. I've been helping people prepare for long-term goals like retirement, college savings for their kids and grandkids, working capital for business, real estate management, by optimizing their assets and minimizing taxes and earning predictable rates of return for more than 48 years. But there's three big dangers that cause most people to not earn the best after-tax rate of return or after inflation rate of return. So taxes, inflation, and market volatility is actually what causes most retirees to outlive their money, okay? And so in this particular episode, we're talking about how to hedge against inflation. So let's start with the milk, and then we'll end up with the meat. Does that sound good? I mentioned at the beginning that a lot of times you'll hear advisors that will tout, hey, put some of your money in gold or silver, precious metals, because inflation is going to be coming around. Now, let me simplify this, because if you decide to put some of your money in gold or silver, that's probably wise if you want to hedge against inflation and just sort of keep up with it. So if inflation is 3%, the cost of living will double about every 24 years, at 5% every 14.4 years. If the rate of inflation is 7.2%, your cost of living will double every 10 years. If it's 10% inflation, it'll double every 7.2 years. Actually, in 2021, the year before the recording of this episode, inflation exceeded 15%. Now, some Americans go, no, that's not what the government told us. They said the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, only went up 5.8%. Clear back in the early 80s, they changed the way they calculate the Consumer Price Index. If you're not aware of this, it's smoke and mirrors. What happened? Back in the 1980s, during the Carter years when inflation was double digit, the government could not afford to pay Social Security retirees, recipients, the true rate of inflation, the cost of living increase. And so they decided to change the way they calculate inflation. I have other episodes that talk about how you can calculate the true rate of inflation, but they basically changed it from apples to oranges comparison. So they can compare the price of one commodity to a different one the next year, or even steak to hamburger the next year, and they do that. So in 2021, they said the Consumer Price Index went up about 5.8 to 5.9%, and that's all the raise that they gave Social Security recipients. And the government acted like they were heroes. It's the biggest increase in Social Security we've ever given for several decades. It didn't even begin to touch the actual increase in cost of living. Look at gasoline. Look at used cars. Look at meat. There's all kinds of things that went up 20, 50, even 100%. The real rate of inflation was over 15%. So whatever the government says that the rate of inflation or the Consumer Price Index is, you can basically triple that at a minimum, okay? Now, to hedge against inflation, you've got to equal the rate of inflation, first of all. And so a lot of advice is buy gold and silver. Now, let me just help you understand this basically. Gold and silver, basically, that's a medium. You can't eat gold or silver, but it is the precious metal where there is a scarcity in the supply, because when they print money, that causes inflation. They make a bigger supply of money, and so therefore the cost of goods and services has to go up. And if you don't understand that, be sure and watch other episodes where I explain this. Milton Friedman, the economist that won the Nobel Prize, explains it very clearly. You wouldn't believe how many politicians don't understand it. But the point is this. Why would you buy gold and silver? Because it's scarce, and it has always sort of kept up with inflation. It rarely stays ahead of it, except for shortened time periods. Why? Okay, let's go back a couple of thousand years ago to the time of Christ. Let's say at the time of Christ, a custom tunic. What's a tunic? Okay, it's a suit of clothing. That's what they wear, okay? And so let's say that you had a nice custom tunic clothing, and it cost you about an ounce of gold, which is what it did. So a nice set of clothes at the time of Christ was worth about an ounce of gold. Today, for the price of an ounce of gold, you can buy a nice suit, a tailor-made suit of clothing, okay? So for 2,000 years, an ounce of gold will buy you a nice tailor-made quality set of clothing, a suit. It's only kept up with inflation. It doesn't stay ahead of it. It just keeps up with it. So hedging inflation, first of all, when people say hedge inflation, they're talking about, hey, let's just keep pace with it. Gold and silver will help you do that. And sometimes it'll be a little ahead of it. Sometimes it'll be a little bit behind. But I'm more interested in outpacing inflation. So in order to do that, I want to earn a rate of return that's greater than the inflation rate at the time. One of my favorite vehicles to do that is indexed universal life. Now, other episodes explain what indexing is. In a nutshell, I'm putting money into an insurance policy, a max-funded insurance policy for living benefits. This is where I have earned rates of return of 7%, 10%, 15%, 25%, 61% in 2021, even 153%. Why? Because we had inflation. And people go, huh? Well, my advisor didn't tell me about this. Yeah, that's why you ought to rethink your thinking about aligning yourself with the proper advisor. So let me simplify this. Back in the 1980s, when Universal Life was first introduced by E.F. Hutton, they weren't an insurance company. They were a brokerage firm. Inflation under Jimmy Carter hit double digits. When it was 10%, I was earning 15.5% on my Universal Life. 5.5% greater than the inflation rate. So I was staying ahead. I was outpacing inflation. Now, when inflation started coming down around the threes, I was earning 8.5, 9, 10. I was earning still about 5.5% greater than the inflation rate at the time, 3% in the 1990s and the early 2000 and 2010. And then all of a sudden inflation started to creep up. And when inflation started to hit 5%, 6%, 7%, I was earning 12, 13, 14%. Well, let's move forward to 2021. Inflation, true inflation, was not 5.8, it was over 15. Do you know what I earned and many of our clients earned by owning max-funded IUL in the year 2021? Many of them locked in gains of 25%. What was inflation? 15. They earned 10% more than the inflation rate. Many made 61.33% tax-free on their IUL, and some earned as much as 153%. Why? Because the advisors that I teach, two of my sons are some of the top IUL specialists in the world, and they told their clients in March of 2020, when the market went down 30% because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the government is printing money like crazy. Link to an index like the S&P 500 one-year point-to-point with no cap. Now, when you do that, they're going to subtract 5 percentage points off the top. In a normal period, you would probably not choose that choice with Indexed Universal Life. You would choose one with a cap at 12 or 15%, and they don't charge any spread. Well, what happened from March of 2020 to March of 2021, the market rebounded 66.33%, the S&P. You subtract 5 percentage points, and our clients ended up with 61.33%. We had a client that had about $850,000 in March of 2020. He didn't add a dime to his IUL policy. And in March of 2021, 1 year later, it had grown by over $500,000 to $1,382,000. And he made $500,000 tax-free. He got 61.33%. And that was way ahead of the 15% inflation rate because he was linking his returns on his IUL to the things that are inflating. And you wouldn't believe how many financial advisors do not understand how to do that. So I would implore you to not have inflation work against you, have it work for you. I don't like inflation any more than you probably do, but it doesn't hurt me, it helps me. So you can't be rowing upstream, so to speak, especially in a bank or credit union at 1% interest at 1 mile an hour when the current of inflation comes down at 3 or 5 or 7. But you can't have your money in traditional IRAs and 401ks in the market, and you are earning 8%, and the current of inflation is 15. You're going backwards. This is what causes so many people to outlive their money. So to learn about this, I want to gift you a copy of my 11th best-selling book. It's called The Laser Fund. It's been flying off of our warehouse shelves. It retails for $20. This isn't about you buying my book. I want to gift you a free copy, okay? Here's how you can claim your free copy. You simply go to Laser Fund, Laser fund.com, or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I cover the rest of that cost, but I will pay for the book. I will fire out a hard copy to you, 300 pages, charts, graphs, explanations, 62 actual client stories about how to diversify and create the foundation for a tax-free retirement and protect yourself from the negative impact of taxes, inflation, and market volatility. There's options while you're claiming your free copy if you want to listen and learn with audio, watch and learn with video. There's even an 18-hour masterclass where we do a deep dive on this. And you can also check out how we teach educational webinars on a regular basis. But if you want to be pointed to an advisor who understands how to do this, because maybe you're realizing my advisor has no clue how to do what Doug is talking about, let me point you to an advisor who can help you, okay? Or maybe you ought to point your advisor to IUL Insiders, which is an exclusive mastermind group that I organize, where I teach advisors how to help their clients eliminate those dangers of taxes, inflation, and market volatility, okay? So you would be doing your advisor a favor if you told them or pointed them to do that. If they refuse, I can point you to an advisor who will help you. But claim your free copy because this is about you and your brighter future.